Take you to Minnesota, giving an update on the condition of one of the victims in last week's shooting at that Catholic school in Minneapolis.
Getting her to our ER very quickly, and our trauma surgeons and ER staff did a fantastic job of triaging her. She made it up to the receiving area of the operating room in record time. I noticed her blue nail polish and her curly hair. And I opened her eyes, and she was bilaterally fixed and dilated, which means that her pressure in her brain was very high. And if you had told me at this juncture 10 days later that we'd be standing here with any ray of hope, I would have said it would take a miracle. She was shot in the left temporal lobe, and the bullet remains lodged in her right occipital lobe. We brought her into the operating room and performed what's called a decompressive craniectomy, which is basically removing the left half of her skull to give her brain room to swell. Unfortunately, the bullet path injured some critical vessels, what's called the Sylvian fissure, which carries branches of what's called the middle cerebral artery, which is a very important blood vessel. We did our best to spare as much of that blood vessel as possible and then stop the bleeding. And then we inserted a pressure monitor and got her off to our wonderful pediatric intensive care unit. She's been there now for 10 days. We've had some issues with swelling and increased pressure in her head, which fortunately have been managed fairly well. And we've done some other studies, including an angiogram that looks at the blood vessels of the brain. And overall, things look as good as can be expected. We've kept her very heavily sedated in a medical-induced coma to some degree to help keep the pressures in her brain down. Those pressures have remained in a relatively good range that we've now started to allow her to wake up a little bit more. And as I mentioned, there are a few rays of hope. She's very purposeful on her left side of her body. She's got some slight movement in her right leg, and she's opening her eyes. She's no longer fixed and dilated. The pressures in her brain are okay. And hopefully they'll remain that way. We've seen plenty of cases, especially in young brains, where the swelling is quite delayed and can get worse over time. But we're starting to get out of that worrisome window, but we're not out of it yet. It's day by day, and I can't tell you how this is going to end. I know she's had a stroke from that injury to that blood vessel. I don't know what her permanent deficits are going to be, but we're a little bit more optimistic that she's going to survive. I'm going to hand it over to Sophia's dad, Tom Forchas, and I'd like to make my statement.
Just over 1 week ago, the world witnessed a heinous act committed by a coward to carry out such an atrocity against innocent children. Children who were praying during Mass is unfathomable. In this horrific act of violence, my daughter, my precious angel, my kuklamu Sophia, suffered a gunshot wound to the head. Sophia is kind. She is brilliant. She is full of life. She is an innocent child who was attacked while in prayer. Words cannot begin to describe the terror and heartbreak that come with learning such devastating details. These past 10 days have been the longest and hardest of our lives. I stand before you today on behalf of my family to thank every person who helped get Sophia from the pew where she lay wounded into all the way to Dr. Galicich's operating room. The speed and coordination it took to make that happen is nothing short of extraordinary. Thank you to Julie. Thank you to Sean. Thank you to Principal DeBoer. Thank you to Matt and Molly. Thank you to Jason and Ryan. And thank you to the countless officers and first responders who arrived on the scene. Your courage, your compassion, and your quick action gave Sophia a fighting chance. To Dr. Galicich, thank you. Thank you for using the talents God gave you to save our daughter. Without your skill, your precision, and your attentiveness, Sophia would not be here today. On behalf of our entire family, Dr. Galicich, thank you. To the entire neurosurgery team under Dr. Galicich's leadership, thank you. Anyone fortunate enough to learn from him is truly blessed to have such a gifted mentor and healer. To the pediatric critical care team and all the staff in the pediatric ICU, thank you. Your dedication and attention to detail are why HCMC stands as a premier level 1 trauma center. Your care has been a lifeline for our family. The final individual I want to thank is my wife. She is the most kind-hearted, selfless, and caring human being I have ever known. Her strength is unmatched. She is my superhero. She has not left Sophia's side. She's monitoring every medication, every drip, every vital sign, and every detail involved in caring for the most critical patients, our daughter. She's truly the best mother I know. It is an honor to be her husband, and I am blessed to call her my wife. Sophia has received prayers from across the globe. It is nothing short of miraculous to know that millions of people have lifted her name in hundreds of millions of prayers. We've heard of prayers from Oslo to Johannesburg, from Sydney to Santiago, from Vietnam to Canada, from Mount Athos, Greece to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you, thank you, thank you for each and every one of those prayers. Thank you to the clergy from the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church who have led prayers around the world. Your spiritual support has carried us through the darkest days. The Forchas family extends its deepest sympathies and condolences to the Merkel and Moisky families. When I spoke to my 9-year-old son about his schoolmates who were murdered, he had these kind words to say about Harper and Fletcher. Harper? Oh, Harper is the most kind, and she's just a really nice girl. She had so many friends and is never mean to anyone. And when I told him about Fletcher, he said, Fletcher? Oh no, he is so good at everything he does. He's friends with everyone, and he is such a good friend to all of us. May the memories of Harper Moisky and Fletcher Merkel be eternal. I want to end by imploring the world, continue to pray. Continue to pray for Sophia. Pray for peace. Pray with vigor. We need you to keep the fervor with which you are praying. And when you pray, move your feet. Moving your feet means one step at a time. It means volunteering your time. It means donating blood. It means listening to someone who's hurting. It means asking yourself, what would Jesus want me to do? And if you don't know Jesus, learn to follow him. His path will lead you back to prayer. Thank you to everyone who has helped us through this nightmare. Your courage, your compassion, and your love have carried us. Sophia is strong. Sophia is fighting. And Sophia is going to win this fight for all of humanity.
All right, we're getting an update there on one of the victims of last week's Minneapolis Catholic school shooting, 12-year-old Sophia Forchas. Sophia is a survivor of the shooting. She remains in critical condition after suffering a gunshot wound to her head. Her doctor says she is now opening her eyes, but she remains heavily sedated in a medically induced coma to help keep down the pressure in her brain. Sophia's mother is a pediatric critical care nurse at that hospital, Hennepin Healthcare. She was working when Sophia came into the hospital after the shooting. 2 children, Fletcher Merkel and Harper Moisky, were killed last Wednesday when that shooter fired dozens of rounds during morning mass on the 3rd day of school. Dozens of others were injured.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.